Welcome to the Roots and Branches JJC Alumni Podcast. As the nation's first community college, JJC has played a key role in shaping America's higher education system. Our rich and beautiful history reaches more than a century into the past, forever connecting generations of alumni. I'm Jen Davis, Annual Giving and Alumni Relations Manager, and I will be your host. In each episode, we'll sit down with different alumni to uncover their most cherished memories, hear their inspiring tales, and get their hard-earned wisdom for future wolves. So, if you're ready, let's dive into the roots of our rich history and branch out into the stories that define us on this episode of the Roots and Branches JJC Alumni Podcast. Welcome, everyone, to episode 8 of the JJC Alumni Podcast. In case you don't know, April is Community College Month, and as the nation's first community college, we really try to do our best to celebrate this month by highlighting all of the amazing things our community college is doing. When I was brainstorming guests for this episode, my director, Amanda Quinn, came running into my office and she said, I have 2 of the perfect alumni that you need to feature on this episode, especially for Community College Month. So without further ado, let me introduce our extra special guests this month. First, we have Dr. Judy Mitchell, who is the 9th president of Joliet Junior College. She retired in 2022 with president emeritus status. Judy, it's so good to see you. Thank you so much for coming back and joining us on this episode.
Oh, good morning, Jen. I was thrilled to hear from you. You know, I am passionate about JJC. It is my family forever. I will always bleed purple. So having the opportunity to speak with you and Paige this morning was just the best. I was excited and cannot wait to get going.
And you'll always be part of our family here. And our next guest, Dr. Paige Niehaus, who is the president of the Dale Mabry campus of Hillsborough Community College in Tampa, Florida. Paige, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Jen. As Judy said, I'm excited too to be able to be here with not only you, but Judy as well, a good friend of mine, and we don't see each other often enough. So this is wonderful. On some level, I think I bleed JJC purple as well. So.
Yeah, and your time here working as an employee as well. So we need to get to that. There's so many great stories. I'm so happy to have the 2 of you. It's going to be a really fun episode. But so for us, Community College Month is really this opportunity for colleges like ours to really showcase the great work that we're doing and the impact that we have in our students and our communities. Here at JJC, we have close to 300 alumni employees who come back to work in various roles at our college. And I feel like that's such a testament to not only how wonderful it is to be here as a student, but that you want to come back and work here means something really special. Paige, do you have alumni employees working with you at Hillsborough?
Oh, we do. We have quite a few, and I don't think that there's not a day that probably goes by that I'm not out in the community and come across an alumni too here in HCC. A lot of our students stay right here in the Tampa area and come back to work too.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And I think it speaks so much to our colleges that people want to come back and work in a community college setting. It just means a lot. And obviously, all of these different alumni have different journeys of how they decided to start at a community college or start at JJC in particular. And the 2 of you kind of had different starts to your JJC journey. And Judy, I want to start with you because, well, I know your story pretty well from having the privilege of working with you here. And I've gotten to know that story. And I just love it because I think your experience of coming here is very unique to the community college experience. So why don't you share a little bit about how you decided to come back to JJC?
Yeah, absolutely. So very non-traditional student, first generation college graduate, but my children were in 1st and 3rd grade, and I was working as an administrative assistant in the elementary school district. And I would watch different parents come in and I thought one day, I'm watching these kids, I'm watching these parents come in. What is my next chapter? What is Judy Mitchell's next chapter? What does that look like? So I talked to my husband. I said, I'm going to take a class in a community college. I've never stepped foot, or in my early 30s, I'd never stepped foot on a college campus. Went to Joliet, signed up for an accounting class, thoroughly enjoyed it, and decided that I was going to continue. So took a few more classes in business. And then ultimately there was a job that opened up in the CIOS department and I applied and was hired. And, my business passion then turned into computer science, obviously working with RAM and some of the great faculty in that division. And I remember taking my classes and graduating and saying, I was so proud and happy, like, yay, I have a degree. And then Ram said, he's like, you're not done, Judy. You need to go back to school. So off I went to Governor State University to earn my bachelor's in business and technology and graduated from there. Ultimately, I'm trying to fast forward my story. And then I was working in the grants department for adult ed for a while. And then a position opened up in the business office under Diane Schmidt at the time. Another great supervisor at the college, Paige, Diane, and started working for Diane. And she interviewed me and said, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I said, in your chair. And she said, well, then you need to go back to school and earn your master's degree. So off I went, off to Governor State to work on my MBA. And by this time, my children, our daughter was in late years in high school. Our son was in college as well. So I remember driving home sometimes late at night because I was working full time at this time. He was in college and we would talk at 10 o'clock at night because that was their college life. And he would be sharing. He's like, oh my God, Mom, college is so tough. And I'm like, hey, suck it up. Your mom is working and going to college too. Like, I get it. Like, but it was just fun. Like, we'd share our stories. And so ultimately I graduated, Diane retired, and I fortunately applied for her position and received that role. So very exciting. And then I worked for another supervisor, David Agazy, who was the VP of Finance and Administrative Services at the time. And David and I talked and he empowered me, let's just say. I learned a lot from him. And he said, you're not done. You need to go back and earn your doctorate degree. I see you in my chair one day. So at this point, I went to my husband and I said, oh my gosh, if I go back to school, I'm going to be 50 years old by the time I'm done. And he said, you're going to be 50 years old regardless. If this is what you want to do, follow your dream. So off to National Lewis University, I went, graduated there. And at the time, we had Dr. Deb Daniels at the college, applied for the VP role and received that role. Very exciting opportunity. And then 4 years later, there was a transition in leadership. The board approached me about serving in the interim role, which we were going through a lot of the state, finance issues and challenges. And then appointed to that role and served. And the board actually came to me after several months and said, there's no need for us to search. We found our president. And so, it's a story that is surreal. This is a little girl that grew up in a small town, small house, and had no idea. But Joliet Junior College, the faculty, the staff, the people that I work with, the counselors were just amazing. And I found this true passion of wanting to give back to a community that gave to me, helping students learn about, opportunities for them and the community. So it was the best experience. Again, as I said, JJC, I believe purple. It will always remain in my heart forever.
Yeah. And Judy, what I love about your story, especially starting out at JJC as an adult learner going back, is that, you were focused. You didn't have any excuses of a young student like, oh, I don't have time for this. You were determined. You were here to get something done.
Yes.
What I love is that, yes, your journey at JJC as a student was only a couple of years, but the way that your professors and everyone here kept encouraging you for those next steps, and then obviously you getting to work here at the college helped sort of continue that.
Absolutely.
Just that then, it's like, oh, you're president now. I love that story.
I love that.
And Paige, I know in your story, you came back to work here, but you started at JJC fresh out of high school, right? So your journey was a little bit different starting out here.
Yeah, I was actually in high school. And speaking of high school, I just want to say, Judy, I don't know if you knew this, but Dave Agazy and I went to high school together.
Oh my gosh, I did not know that.
He was a year older than I was. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Too funny.
Yeah, but I have to attribute to my mom, Elaine Stonich. She was going through the dislocated worker program at the time. My parents were divorced and my mom was transitioning in different positions. And so she was coming to JJC for the first time under that program. And I was actually a junior in high school. And she said, you need to come take a class. And they didn't have dual enrollment back then. This was probably in 81, 82. So I did. I took a history class, and ironically, it mirrored exactly what I was learning in my history class in high school. So we had dual enrollment at that time, or dual credit. I probably could have knocked out two courses at once.
Yeah.
And then my senior year, I did the same, and I had economics, and I wish I could remember that instructor's name because I'll never forget him saying, when you turn 18, make sure you get your voter's card and vote. And when I did turn 18, I did, and I have voted in every election since then. And I'm way far past 18, but that really resonated with me to do that. And then I had probably, oh my gosh, over 100 credit hours. I was a student worker. Sunny Hunter worked for JD Ross, and her daughter Tammy and I were best friends. And Tammy had a student worker job. And so she said, hey, they need more student workers. So I did that. And probably about a year or two in 85, I went to work full time. But I remember, I think it was Tammy or one of my friends saying, oh, I'm going to graduate. And I said, we graduate? I was that student just taking courses. So I actually had 2 associate degrees, like Judy, one in computer programming, and the other one was in business. So I had a transfer degree in AA. And then I got married, and I was what they called back then a secretary. And I was working in an office, and I see the girls younger than me coming out of college, and they have their offices, and I'm typing their work. And I thought, man, I could do that. I just need to go back to school. So I eventually went back in 1994. My daughter was turning a year old, and I started at University of St. Francis, a 2+2 program. I got a flyer in the mail, and it interested me. Yeah, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to get my bachelor degree. I just did not know what in. So that took me 7 years to get my bachelor degree. And I tell students here on campus all the time, I took 1 class a semester. I had 2 more babies, so I took off a semester for each of my boys, but I just chipped away at it, and I made payments each month. And before I knew it, I earned my bachelor degree. So somebody had told me that's a comma for you, not a period. You need to go on.
Oh, I love that quote.
Yeah, that really stuck with me as well. And at the time, I was also working part-time in registration at JJC. I came back in 91. My mom, again, was working in registration and said, hey, we need somebody in the evenings. So I did that for 13 years under Dr. Carolyn Anger and Darian Hedger and Gary Matfield. And yeah, Dr. Anger, it's so sad. She just passed. A wonderful lady.
Wonderful. I
Oh,
cherish her here. Yeah.
Yes.
So here I am. I have my bachelor degree, and I need to go full time in expenses with children getting older. And there was an opening at the city center in workforce development. You had to have, I think, a registration or advising background. And anyway, I got hired under Sandy Mall and started
Oh, yeah.
full time down at the Renaissance Center. And I was helping a coworker. She was asking me about University of St. Francis and getting her bachelor degree. So I pulled out the catalog and I'm flipping through, and I see this master's in training and development. And I thought, oh gosh, I would like to do that. So
Yeah.
I went to University of St. Francis again for my master's while I'm working full time at JJC, and then applied for the doctorate program at Ferris State University in 2013, started in 2014, and Judy played a big part of that. Oh my gosh, she was my dissertation chair. And
Yes.
while she was my chair, she was a VP, and she's transitioning to the college president, and all the while stuck with me. So
It was so rewarding. It was just so wonderful working with Paige. I love that.
I tell people this, and I say this sincerely. I would not have finished my dissertation if it was not for Judy.
Oh, thank you.
Judy held me accountable, and every 2 weeks we had on the calendar an appointment, and I knew if I didn't produce something. Now, it might be a Monday meeting, and Sunday night I was typing away, but I at least had something. Once, maybe twice, I didn't, and I felt so bad to be wasting her time. So it really kept me chipping away, and before I knew it, I was done. So
Oh, I know. That was such a wonderful celebration. I remember our pictures, and it was wonderful.
my office here.
Yeah, I do too. I know. It was
That's great.
awesome.
This is the part about podcasting that I find so special is because I can learn Paige's story and Judy, I've heard your story, but hearing the two of you really talk about your journeys in a detailed way like that. I have a junior in high school right now, so we're hearing a lot about, what's the next step for them. And I feel like there's just still so much push that these students need to know right off the bat, right at their junior and senior year, exactly what they want to do, where they want to go, how they have to get there. And for the majority of them, they just don't know that yet. And when you listen to these stories, so many alumni who've been on this podcast, the two of you talking right now, nothing was just linear for either of you. I mean, it took time for you to be in different positions to realize even what you wanted. And I have to assume that the two of you, Judy, when you were sitting working in that school, and Paige, when you were working as a secretary, the two of you sitting there probably never dreamed in a million years you were going to end up as presidents of a community college. Like, what a prestigious role. And had you given up or thought, oh, I can't do this because I'm, this age, or I can't do this because I took time off, you would never be where you are right now. So it's something so special about sharing that journey and being so honest about it, that it isn't always, a straight line, that it's never too late to follow those dreams. So that's what I'm loving about the whole idea of podcasting, is getting to share these stories. So the two of you worked at JJC together, right? Your sort of careers ended up intertwining. Then you said that obviously Judy was the chair for you, but how else did you two work together in your time here?
Well, I think it was in her roles when Paige was in workforce, and I was always on the business side of the house. So as the vice president in our different roles, so we would talk a lot about just, the business, the finance, the programming, what those needs were. And I, believe how I could better support her in her role. Paige, I would think you would agree on that.
Oh, absolutely. We did a lot with grants, the oversight of the grants, the management of the grants. It was so important that we work closely with Judy's area to make sure that we were spending down the grants as we were supposed to, that we were meeting deadlines, and that we were following the guidelines. So we had a lot of interaction, even though we weren't at the main campus, we were at the city center. There was a lot of interaction. Probably at the main campus, that'd be the biggest area that we had the most interaction. Yeah.
And do you feel like what you learned in all those different roles has helped shape the type of leaders that you are as president?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I truly believe that, we worked from, I want to say the ground up, so to speak,
Yeah.
starting at an entry level position. And and I think my appreciation was that, there are all types of leaders. But for us, and I think, Paige, you would agree as well, that starting in our entry level roles or whatever that position was at the college, it helped build our future. We learned and met so many different people at the college. We learned the different processes at the college and how we could support one another. And that continued to build throughout, whether it's through committees or the grants, the opportunity I had to work for adult ed. That gave me an understanding and knowledge about grants. So I could understand or relate to Paige.
Yeah.
Don't you agree, Paige? I mean, it's just, it really built character.
I think in every position, I think of like I don't know, like some sticky ball of something that you pick up something as you roll along in
Yes.
your life, and then
Like that.
you have all these pieces. But one of the biggest takeaways when I worked in registration and working at the window or on the phone, customer service, but the huge piece was empathy.
Yes.
You had a student come
I
into the
agree.
window and they're mad and they're yelling at you. You had to listen and you had to say, you know what, I get it. I'd be upset too. And sometimes you would be telling them the same outcome, but they wanted to be listened to. And so I really took empathy from that position. When I got to workforce development, one of the things I used to tell the team, if they came in and said, oh my gosh, the sky is falling, I would say, okay, was there any loss of life? Did anybody die? No. I said, okay, all of this we can work with. And then you start to see a culture where people are more relaxed about, okay, this is the situation we're in. How do we navigate it? One of the things that I also take away is Sandy Mall was the director, and I reported to her for a bit before I moved in that role after her retirement. But when we would put in for a day off, she would say, oh, good, enjoy your day. And I do that to this day. If somebody says, I'd like to take off tomorrow, I say, oh, great, have a good day.
Oh.
Just making people feel good and
Yes.
knowing that we're a family. I talk very much here about being a family. I see people here more than I do my own children,
Yeah,
my friends,
yes.
my friends like Judy. I'm with this family. So it's so important to be kind and empathetic and supportive.
I don't think people realize just how much extra work that the two of you have put into your roles, and all leadership, has to do from time to time, especially as the president, and all the places that you want to be, all the places you're expected to be. There's a lot of challenging aspects, I would assume, to being in that leadership role. What do you think are maybe some of the hardest parts about leadership at that level? What are the things you maybe had struggled with at one time or another?
Well, we haven't figured out cloning.
Yeah,
Right. I
right.
said you could use a mini me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think serving as a president in a leadership role is so rewarding at many levels. Some of the challenges I think were that, all too often we are put in a very difficult position.
Yes.
And whether that is something financial, whether that's something we're working with a board directive or something with a community, some initiative, something we have to do, and it's problematic. And my goal always with the community was, with the campus community was to make sure that we communicated, you were transparent to a certain level, because you couldn't share everything that was going on or why a decision had to be made or what were the inner workings behind that. And so that was difficult at times because there were individuals that may not have agreed with you or may not have understood, but you really couldn't share everything. And I think for me, that was the most difficult because Jen, you knew, Paige, you knew, like I communicate, I share, I talk, and it's
Yeah.
so important to have that acceptance of others and that trust in others. But at times I would just say that there were decisions that are made that were difficult, and they were not easy for us as well as the leaders, but it's our responsibility. And so I think just delegating that and just trying to work with your team to make sure that they know that you're still there for them. It's just, serve in a different capacity. Paige, do you find that?
Yeah, we've been having conversations here or with different groups, and I have found the more that I share how we support and we'll work through, maybe it's legislation coming down the pipeline here in Florida, people feel unsure. They're not sure what the future holds. And so that support of knowing, hey, we're all here together, again, going to that family, we'll address whatever situations may arise. We're going to follow the law. We're going to follow what regulations or legislation, is put in place, but we'll do it together. We'll figure it out together. And so I have found lately that's important. I probably don't say it enough, but when I say it, I see the response and that people feel a little bit not so heightened and so anxious or wondering what's going on.
And the two of you were in different positions in the college where you were looking to leadership in your positions when things were difficult or hard, looking for guidance. So that is the beauty of having been in all those roles, is that you saw the things that you really appreciated from a leader, and maybe things that you thought to yourself, that's something I'll do differently when I get into that position or if I get there, and making that your own. And it's hard because you two are in a position where you cannot, even though you both probably want to desperately as people pleasers, if you're anything like me, you want to please everybody, you want to make everyone happy, and that is impossible in your role. And so being able to lead in a way where you're confident in your decisions, but the two of you being strong communicators, I think that makes a huge difference. Communication is key, and letting people know that you are there for them,
Right. And make yourself available. I think that's
Yes.
in our roles, there's so much work to do. And Paige, I don't know if you found that, but it was almost like you would come in early, try to get some things done, but then it would increase your visibility, whether it's on campus, internally, externally. You are out and about because you want people to know you're approachable. They can talk to you, you're visible. And then you go back to your office at the end of the day when people are going home, and then you try to get your work done at the end of the night. So you put in these long hours. But I think regardless of that, it's because we really care about who we're serving. You care about your employees. And so you try to tie it all together.
Yeah.
And I don't regret any of that. I mean, it was just, it was the best.
I do exactly the same, Judy. I get more work done sometimes in the evenings. My assistants leave and they lock me in the office. And that's all the emails that have piled up all day.
Right, exactly.
You sit and you try to get it, to a place where you can go home and at least kind of turn it off. While I'm always checking my phone, I'm always available, but I try also not to bring work home to do unless and there's times I have to, but I try to get it done while I'm in the office because I do need that downtime. I'm actually an introvert, and so I need that time to recharge. But as Judy said, when I first got here, I went around campus and I walked in rooms and I walked in offices, and people were so surprised to see me and happy to see me. And I try to get out at least, well, aside from things I have to be at, if I have a day where I don't have something on campus on schedule, I at least do a loop around.
Yeah.
Every time I do, I see something, I learn something, I meet someone. It's never without having a takeaway from that walk around campus to see how things are. So
Yeah.
I take my phone and I take pictures a lot.
I love that.
We need to do this. We need to, so I try to capture things and I start sending out those pictures. Hey, I saw this, we need to look at it. But
That's funny you said that. I would do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I know Pat Van Dyne is still at the campus, but he would finally get to a point. He goes, okay, this is the president's path. Make sure we get these things addressed as we go through, because she's going to do the same thing.
And she's going to be taking pictures.
Send a text to say, hey, did you know this was out? Yes.
That's great. In the campus, they know what my expectations are like. But Walter Bumpus said, as a leader, you need to inspect what you expect. And so it's not doing the job and it's getting out of the way, but you do have to have your eyes and you have to see what's happening on campus and what's happening in the buildings. And you get to meet people and connect too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Every role at the campus is important. Everyone. So
yep.
Yes.
And I think it's wonderful when leaders acknowledge that. I mean, that's just so important. And it makes all of us feel good to be seen and that we know that our positions at the college are valued for all different reasons. So the two of you, I mean, obviously the job is very demanding and there's lots of things that can be difficult from time to time. But I also know that the two of you both really love the position and some of the things. Judy, I know you talked about one of your favorite things to do as president was to be student for the day, right?
Oh my gosh, I love that. It was so fun. And I would reach out to the faculty members and ask them if I could be invited to their classroom, and we would build my schedule. So it's my schedule. So I would dress like a student, have my backpack, have my supplies. And the faculty members, some of them would assign homework in advance. Others would not. Some would tell their students who I was. Others would not. And so I would go into the classroom, and let me tell you, I learned so much about the faculty, and it just reminded me the appreciation of all that they do to support students. But a couple funny little things that I'll just tell you. So it was just great meeting the students. I'd have lunch with them, and then I would tell them who I was, and they'd be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know. And we'd have those conversations. But there was one class that I went into, and I was in a business class. So this warmed my heart. And Professor Golick assigned me with a student. He probably really thought he drew the short straw. Okay, I get the president, everybody else gets a classmate. He puts a problem on the board. We solve the problem, and we differed. And he looked at me and he just said, the student, and he said, well, you probably didn't read the problem correctly. Wayne gave the answer and I was right. And I was like, yes, I still have it. I haven't lost it. And so the student just kind of turned his chair around because I thought, I still have it. So that was a fun one. It made me feel really good. Then I went into another class, and it was a science class, a biology class, and they were working with leeches. And I'm like, oh, now it was the students that were in there were so, they just were immersed in the class. They loved it. But then they're like, do you want to touch the leeches and put them in? I'm like, no. So
You drew the line there. That was it.
I drew the line, but so many wonderful stories. A nursing class. Dr. Deb gave me an assignment way over my head, but I had, a greater appreciation for our nursing students. And when they graduate, holy cow, just amazing. But yes, those are some of my favorite stories. It was so much fun.
That is so cool that you did that and how much everyone enjoyed it. Paige, do you have something that you do as president that you just it brings you joy?
Well, I just wrote that down, the student for a day.
It's great, Paige. It's so fun.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I think anytime I can interact with the students, the Student Government Association hosts once a semester lunch with the president. And they usually have something that starts with P, like piccata or pasta or pizza. But I enjoy it because I really get to sit and talk and listen to the students and engage with them. The other thing, Judy, when you mentioned the students, when they get surprised when they find out who you are, that always tickles me. We have a campus beautification that meets on Saturdays, 3 Saturdays a semester, and it's faculty, staff, and students. So I show up in my ball cap and t-shirt and shorts, my gardening gloves, and I'll be weeding or planting next to students and just having conversations. And I usually never tell them who I am unless they ask. And if they do, or they'll say, "Oh, do you work here?" And "Oh, yeah, what do you do? Are you faculty?" No, and then I usually say what I am, and it's that reaction, "Oh my gosh!" But prior to that, you get to really know the students, and those are the students I see then a lot on campus. I really get to have a rapport with, and commencement's always bittersweet because you get
Oh,
to know
it
these
is.
groups of
Oh, it
students.
is.
Yeah, and to see them, you're happy they're going on, but it's like, wow, it was really neat to be able to connect with them.
That's one of my favorite parts of my job in alumni relations is getting to be backstage with those graduates. And for a little while, when I was still in the transition from having taught here for a while and then moving into this role, I would see students that I had, and then they were in their cap and gown. And it's like, oh, I get emotional on graduation. I love that.
Oh, it is. You see those faces. Some of my other favorites are walking across the stage. I remember there was one time we were picking up our gowns and there was an older woman coming down with the gown. And I'm like, "Oh, you're here. Who are you here for?" And she's like, "I'm a graduating granny." And I thought, oh my gosh, bless your heart. That is so awesome to see her go across the stage. And, it's like a
Yeah.
goal they've had their whole life and they've completed. And it just
Yeah.
warms your heart to know
And you know that feeling. Both of you know
yes.
that feeling. So it's just an extra level of emotion for us because you know what it takes to get there. It's not easy. And so when you see them completing that, it's huge.
I think that's one of the best days, the highlight of the years. And then it gets nice and quiet on campus too. Everybody
And you
Yes, that goes.
breathe.
Yeah, we all feel that, like that sigh when commencement's done. Yeah. Well, I've appreciated so much hearing how much you guys love your positions, but more importantly, I want to know what you love about being a part of the community college. As we're celebrating this month and we're highlighting all the great things, like what do you think sets us apart? Community college education, what sets us apart from just going right into a 4-year school? Judy, what do you think?
Honestly, it's access and adaptability. The opportunity for students, regardless of your age, when you come to a community college, much like me, in my early 30s, community college systems offer so many options and so many
Yes.
programs. And at times it can be overwhelmed. But I think what I've gained and learned from the students is that, it's affordable. They can try these classes. I mean, over 186 programs. And that the faculty, staff, the counseling and the advisors, they're there to help them, kind of hone in on the areas that they like, their passions. And even if, what I found for some students, even if they're a little apprehensive at the beginning, you can encourage them to work on a certificate and earn those stackable credentials. And then eventually they work towards that degree. They find what that passion is. They find what they love. They're working with students. They're partnering with the clubs and activities. It's no
Yes.
different than a 4-year university, but I think it's a closer knit community and just the opportunities and experience are just so rewarding. And there's a student, I have to say, that to this day, he'll be graduating from 4-year university at the end of this term. He keeps in touch with me. It's so rewarding, but I think that you're approachable. Again, you're accessible. There are so many opportunities, experiences, and
Yes.
clubs that it's the best experience ever. And I think we can speak as, from our children going to college, through us going to college, we can offer those different opportunities for at all ages. So
It's trying to get rid of or remove the stigma that community colleges have nationally. It always amazes me because we're the best kept secret, and we all know how wonderful community colleges are, but we're always telling our story. I think here on the Dale Mabry campus, where our head count's over 15,000 students this spring semester, and that's
Wow.
unduplicated. So we have a very collegial feel on campus. We have a lot of activities. As I said, student government, they've been kind of quiet today, but they got a big event going on. But our students feel very much a part of that collegial feel being here on campus. I think our affordability, we have over 8,000 students in our dual enrollment program. So we have got such a body of students already, and we had over 250 that graduated from high school and got their associate degrees last year. So we're really the opportunities that students have, and then there's no cost for them with the dual enrollment, and they've already got their first 2 years of college done. I think it's continually saying we are college, even when we're talking about career and tech education. People
Yes.
think they don't need college, but they'll come here for a career tech ed course. Well, this is college. When I have younger students on campus, middle schoolers or high schoolers too, I tell them this is college and this is your college. You belong
Yes.
here. You
Yeah.
belong here. This is for everyone. I love our open door policy. I love our affordability, our small classroom sizes, our excellent faculty, the education you're getting. I don't know why anybody would not want to start at a community college.
This is college is one of our taglines. It's one of our slogans right now. It's what we've built a lot of our marketing pieces off as. It's just, this is college and it is your college and it's the experience that you want to make of it. And I'm so excited that my daughter is embracing wanting to come here. And some of those reasons, one of which is that she isn't 100% sure what she wants to do. And I'm like, this is where you explore. This is where you get to do all of those things, and really get to see where your passions are. You want a job that you love. That's the key. And obviously the two of you have that. I know, Judy, you are in retirement, but you're not. You're still consulting and doing wonderful things for students and helping community college leadership. So you're still in it, but we're in jobs that we love, and that makes all the difference. And what better place to sort of figure that out than at a community college? So I want to give you both the opportunity before we end the session to give your final advice to future wolves, having been community college students yourselves, sort of working in different areas of the college all throughout your career, and then being at the highest position. I want you to be able to give advice to those new students who are looking to start at a community college. Judy, I'll let you go first.
Okay, so I would tell our students, much like we did in commencement, to follow your dreams, follow your passion. Once you become a JJC wolf, we talk, you're always a wolf. The institution is always there to help you, to serve you, whether it's your first day on campus, whether it's after commencement, you always come home. It's your family. It becomes part of your life. When we look at our alums that have graduated, much like Paige said, turn that around. It's a college in your community. It's close. It's convenient. We are here. We offer everything that you can imagine, the same thing that you would have at a four-year university at a much lower cost. And know that you are valued. And whether you're administrator on campus to working in the front door, welcoming our students in, you are important and you will always be a wolf, and we are always here to support you.
Excellent advice. Paige, I'd love to hear yours too.
Wow, that's hard to follow.
I'm glad she asked me to go first.
Yeah, I am too. And I agree with all that. I would add just a couple other things. I think we started talking about this when Judy was talking about her path. Pathways are not linear. And I've seen it with my own children, putting a lot of pressure that I've got to, I've got to stay at this 4-year institution because this is, where I have to be. They're not always linear. Now, should you follow your path and take classes within your degree? Yes. Don't do what I did and have 100 credit hours or so.
Right.
But know that you can explore and that you do, as Judy said, find something that you love to do. And I don't think either Judy or I thought we'd be, in these positions when we were in school. But we're fortunate to be, I tell people all the time, it's not a job. I love what I do. It's hard work.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy it. I like to get up every day and get in here to the office. I stay late. Like Judy was talking about too, we give it our all because we believe in it and we love it. So find what you really like to do. And the other thing that I tell students as they're coming in as well, we know that life happens. We know that sometimes you need to work full time or you need to be able to support your family, but still come and take at least one class a semester. Don't stop. If you get down to one class, that's fine. Still do it, but keep doing it and invest in yourself because that's the only way you're
Yes.
going to continue. So
I love that. Invest in yourself. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm so happy that the two of you could join us today. I love your stories. Your passion for your jobs and what you do and your students is so obvious. I mean, it's just, I love listening to it. And so I'm happy that you could join us today. And I hope that everyone listening, whether they've got students who are getting close to starting college or if they're adults who are dying to go back, I hope that they're listening to this and they take the time to discover what these community colleges have to offer, whether you're close to JJC and you can be here with us, or if you're in Tampa and you can visit. I hope that this has encouraged people to want to give that a try. And so if you are listening and you're local to JJC, go to jjc.edu/discover, and you will find opportunities to come here for JJC Open House, how you can get started with admissions, look for different resources to help you discover what our campus has to offer. It's really just a great resource. And Paige, I'm hoping that some of our friends in Tampa, Florida will listen and want to come to your page as well and see all that Hillsborough has to offer for their students. So thank you both again for being here today.
thank you, Jen. I really appreciate the time today. It was great to spend time with you and meet you. And Judy, it's always good to see you again. And it's always good to talk about JJC as well.
You're welcome. It was fun. This was great. And it was great to see you, Jen. You always do a phenomenal job.
Thanks, Judy. That means a lot. You know, this podcast is pretty special to us, and we love getting to highlight amazing community college alumni like you and Paige, especially during Community College Month. And to all of our listeners, thank you so much for being here. Until next time. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Roots and Branches JJC Alumni Podcast. For more episodes, information, foundation events, and ways to give or get involved, visit jjc.edu/alumni.